Your watching hours disappear to procrastination while important work remains untouched. Recognizing that procrastination is not laziness but psychological pattern destroying your potential. Knowing that 10 specific anti-procrastination habits transform productivity permanently rather than relying on motivation that inevitably fades. Understanding that productive people use systematic habits, not superior willpower. And losing years of potential achievement because without anti-procrastination habits you remain trapped in cycle of delay, guilt, and rushed mediocre work, making procrastination transformation essential for realizing your full productive potential. This procrastination pattern is systematically destroying your success by ensuring important work never gets the attention it deserves, destroying your confidence by proving daily that you cannot trust yourself to follow through, destroying your opportunities by consistently delivering rushed or incomplete work, destroying your relationships by missing deadlines and creating unreliability, and ensuring that years pass with persistent gap between your potential and actual achievement, because procrastination compounds, creating downward spiral of avoidance, making anti-procrastination habit development essential. Transforming procrastination is not about forcing yourself through willpower or punishing yourself for delays, but installing 10 specific habits that make starting easy, maintaining momentum natural, and completing work satisfying. Not about becoming a different person, but developing systematic approach that works with your psychology, not against it. And not mysterious achievement reserved for special people, but learnable systematic skill. This audiobook teaches 10 anti-procrastination habits that transform productivity, including understanding procrastination psychology, using 2-minute rule for immediate action, creating implementation intentions, designing distraction-free environment, breaking tasks into tiny starts, using temptation bundling, creating accountability systems, managing energy, not just time, using progress tracking for momentum, and building completion rituals, making productivity transformation systematic, sustainable, and permanent. Stop watching potential disappear to procrastination and start transforming productivity. Stop relying on motivation and start implementing 10 systematic habits. Build anti-procrastination systems consistently, practice deliberately, and transform your productivity through unwavering commitment starting now. Chapter 1. Habit 1. Understand your procrastination psychology. Chapter 1 reveals procrastination psychology, enabling targeted intervention. The procrastination definition shows that procrastination is not character flaw or laziness, but emotion regulation problem at its core, that people procrastinate specifically to avoid negative emotions associated with tasks, not because they are inherently unmotivated, that avoidance provides immediate emotional relief at significant long-term cost, that understanding this root cause enables targeted effective solutions, and understanding that psychology is foundation enabling all subsequent anti-procrastination habits. Procrastination is emotion avoidance, not laziness. Understand your psychology. No triggers or treat symptoms. The emotional triggers identification reveals that procrastination is specifically triggered by fear of failure, perfectionism, boredom, frustration, resentment, and feeling overwhelmed. That each person has unique trigger profile requiring personal identification. That different tasks trigger different emotions, requiring different specific strategies. That recognizing your trigger in the moment creates intervention opportunity before avoidance behavior executes. And understanding that trigger awareness is first essential step to breaking procrastination pattern permanently. The self-compassion foundation transforms your ability to change procrastination patterns. Research consistently demonstrates that harsh self-judgment about procrastination paradoxically increases procrastination by adding shame to already negative emotional experience. Self-compassion reduces shame, creating psychological safety that enables action. Treating yourself with genuine kindness about past procrastination removes emotional weight that keeps you stuck. Guilt about past delays is counterproductive, while present moment commitment is productive and actionable. The procrastination types framework enables more targeted intervention strategies. Chronic procrastinators struggle across virtually all domains and require comprehensive, systematic approach addressing foundational patterns. Situational procrastinators struggle specifically with certain task types like creative work, administrative tasks, or difficult conversations, requiring targeted strategies for those specific contexts. Perfectionist procrastinators delay specifically to avoid producing imperfect work, requiring strategies addressing perfectionism directly. Overwhelmed procrastinators freeze when facing complex multi-step projects requiring decomposition strategies reducing complexity. The immediate relief trap explains why procrastination persists despite negative consequences. When facing tasks that triggers negative emotion, avoidance provides genuine immediate emotional relief, making the brain register avoidance as successful coping strategy. This immediate reward powerfully reinforces avoidance behavior regardless of long-term costs. Understanding this mechanism removes moral judgment, replacing it with practical understanding that the brain is doing exactly what it learned to do given available information. The negative emotion identification practice involves sitting with a procrastinated task for 60 seconds and honestly examining what specific emotion arises. Fear of judgment, uncertainty about how to proceed, boredom with repetitive work, resentment about being required to do the task. Each emotion points towards specific intervention. Fear of failure responds to self-compassion and reframing. Uncertainty responds to clarity and planning. Boredom responds to temptation bundling and gamification. Resentment responds to meaning-making and autonomy strategies. The procrastination cost calculation creates motivating awareness of what avoidance actually costs. Calculate how many hours weekly you lose to procrastination and its aftermath, including time spent feeling guilty about not working. Multiply by your hourly value to calculate weekly financial cost. Project this weekly cost over year and decade to reveal cumulative impact on income achievement and life satisfaction. Most people dramatically underestimate procrastination's true cost until calculation makes it concrete. The growth mindset application to procrastination involves viewing yourself as someone developing anti-procrastination skills rather than someone who either is or isn't a procrastinator. Fixed mindset treats procrastination as permanent character trait, while growth mindset treats it as pattern that changes through deliberate skill development. Every successful implementation of anti-procrastination habit strengthens your emerging identity as a productive person regardless of past patterns. The pattern recognition practice means tracking when, where, and what you procrastinate on for one full week without judgment. Patterns reveal your specific triggers and contexts, enabling targeted intervention. If you consistently procrastinate in afternoons, energy management addresses root cause. If you procrastinate on creative tasks, perfectionism strategies help most. If you procrastinate after criticism, self-compassion work is primary need. The implementation requires identifying personal procrastination triggers honestly, recognizing emotional avoidance mechanism without judgment, developing genuine self-compassion practice for past delays, identifying your specific procrastination type, calculating actual procrastination cost, applying growth mindset to development process, tracking patterns for 1 week, and treating psychology understanding as foundation, enabling all subsequent habits where ignorance of psychology made. Interventions miss root cause, treating only symptoms. Procrastination is emotion avoidance, not laziness. Understand your psychology. No triggers or treat symptoms. You understand now that emotions drive procrastination, that self-compassion enables change, that types require different strategies, that patterns reveal interventions, and that Chapter 1 provides psychological foundation, making all subsequent habits effective where symptom treatment without psychology understanding failed. Chapter 2. Habit 2. Use the 2-minute rule for immediate action. Chapter 2 implements the 2-minute rule, eliminating task initiation resistance completely. The rule definition shows that if any task takes 2 minutes or less, you do it immediately without deliberation or delay. That immediate action eliminates accumulation of small tasks, creating overwhelming mental burden. That completing small tasks immediately prevents them becoming looming obligations, consuming mental energy. That 2-minute rule eliminates significant portion of procrastinated tasks without requiring any motivation. And understanding that immediate action rule transforms relationship with small tasks permanently. 2 minutes eliminates initiation resistance. Start immediately. Act now or accumulate burden. The initiation resistance reality shows that starting is consistently hardest part of any task regardless of actual difficulty. That 2-minute commitment lowers initiation bar so dramatically that resistance essentially disappears. That once started momentum frequently carries work well beyond initial 2 minutes. That tiny commitment prevents the overwhelming resistance that makes larger commitments feel impossible. And treating 2-minute start as powerful gateway to full task completion, rather than just completion of small tasks. The psychological mechanism explains why the rule works so powerfully. When you face tasks, your brain evaluates the activation energy required to begin. Large time commitment creates large activation energy requirement, triggering resistance and avoidance. 2-minute commitment creates minimal activation energy requirement that brain barely registers as obstacle. By making starting cost essentially zero, you eliminate the primary psychological barrier to action. The extended application multiplies rule power dramatically beyond just completing small tasks. Use 2-minute rule specifically to initiate larger tasks you have been avoiding by committing to work on them for just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of starting psychologically transforms tasks from avoided to begun, and begun tasks create powerful completion, pull that often sustains work far beyond initial commitment. The task that felt impossible to start suddenly feels continuable once you have invested 2 minutes. The Zeigarnik effect explains why starting works so powerfully. Research shows that begun incomplete tasks occupy mental attention more than not yet started tasks, creating psychological pull toward completion. Once you spend 2 minutes on task, your brain registers it as incomplete work and naturally directs attention toward finishing. This means 2-minute start doesn't just initiate task, it activates psychological completion mechanism working in your favor. The habit application extends rule beyond task completion to habit initiation. Commit to just 2 minutes of any habit you have been avoiding, including exercise, meditation, reading, or creative work. 2 minutes of exercise often extends to full workout. 2 minutes of meditation often extends to full session. Making habits accessible through minimal commitment eliminates barrier that prevents starting consistently. The task accumulation prevention demonstrates rules' systemic value beyond individual tasks. When small tasks accumulate, they create visually and psychologically overwhelming to-do list that itself becomes procrastination trigger. Each email that should take 2 minutes but gets delayed adds to mental burden. Each small administrative task postponed adds to growing pile. Applying 2-minute rule consistently prevents accumulation, maintaining manageable task environment that supports rather than triggers procrastination. The non-negotiable application means using rule without internal deliberation or negotiation. When you begin evaluating whether to apply the rule, you have already created space for avoidance. The rule only works when applied automatically as soon as 2-minute threshold is recognized. Training automatic recognition and response removes decision from equation, preventing the internal negotiation that enables delay. The rule limitations recognition maintains realistic expectations. 2-minute rule applies specifically to tasks meeting the time threshold and to initiating longer tasks. It does not replace planning, prioritization, or deep work scheduling, which are addressed by other habits. Rule works best as complement to broader anti-procrastination system rather than standalone solution. The energy timing shows that 2-minute rule works effectively across all energy levels, unlike deep work that requires peak energy. Even depleted, tired, or distracted states allow 2-minute execution, making rule reliable across full range of daily conditions where other productivity strategies fail when energy is low. The implementation requires applying 2-minute rule immediately for all qualifying tasks without deliberation, using rule to initiate larger avoided tasks through 2-minute commitment, making application automatic and completely non-negotiable, leveraging Zeigarnik effect through consistent starting, applying to habit initiation not just task completion, preventing accumulation through consistent immediate action, and treating immediate action habit as eliminating large portion of daily procrastination, where delay accumulated overwhelming burden, making even starting feel impossible. 2 minutes eliminates initiation resistance. Start immediately. Act now or accumulate burden. You understand now that 2 minutes defeats resistance, that starting creates momentum, that Zeigarnik effect pulls toward completion, that accumulation prevention maintains momentum, and that Chapter 2 provides immediate action habit, making starting automatic where deliberation enabled endless delay. Chapter 3. Habit 3. Create implementation intentions. Chapter 3 creates implementation intentions that double follow through on important tasks. The implementation intention research shows that planning specifically when, where, and how to complete tasks doubles completion rates in controlled research studies. That vague intentions fail consistently while specific plans succeed. That if-then format creates automatic response bypassing moment of action resistance. That planning eliminates decision requirement in the moment when resistance is highest, and understanding that implementation intentions are single most researched and validated. Anti-procrastination strategy available. Vague intentions enable avoidance. Specific plans create action. Plan exactly or procrastinate indefinitely. The if-then format works because it creates conditional automatic response that operates without requiring willpower or motivation in the moment. When I sit down at my desk at 9 a.m., I will immediately open the project document and write for 90 minutes is implementation intention. Compare this to I will work on the project, which is vague intention that enables endless delay. The specific trigger automatically activates planned behavior, removing the decision that enables procrastination. The specificity requirement is non-negotiable for effectiveness. Specifying exact time removes the constant negotiation about when to start. Specifying exact location removes decision about where to work. Specifying exact first action removes uncertainty about what to do first. Each specification eliminates one potential avoidance point that vague intention leaves open. Research demonstrates that each additional specification meaningfully increases follow-through rate, compounding the effect. The weekly planning integration makes implementation intention creation systematic. Dedicate 20 to 30 minutes every Sunday evening to creating implementation intentions for the coming week. Review all important tasks and projects. For each significant task, create specific if-then plan, including when you will work on it, where you will work, and exactly what action you will take first. Entering week with complete set of implementation intentions eliminates Monday morning procrastination entirely. The obstacle planning extends implementation intentions beyond initial action to persistence through difficulty. Create specific if-then plans for predictable obstacles. If I feel overwhelmed while working on the project, I will immediately break the current section into 3 smaller parts and work on only the first. If I get distracted by social media, I will close my browser and move my phone to another room before continuing. These obstacle responses become automatic, removing the decision-making that creates stopping points. The temptation if-then plans address specific procrastination temptations. If I feel the urge to check my phone while working, I will place it face down and work for 10 more minutes before checking. If I start browsing the internet instead of working, I will close all tabs and spend 2 minutes writing down what I am avoiding and why before continuing. These plans transform automatic avoidance responses into conscious, deliberate choices. The commitment device integration amplifies implementation intentions through additional accountability. After creating implementation intention, tell one person specifically what you will do when and where. This public component adds social accountability to personal intention, dramatically increasing follow-through. The combination of specific personal plan and social commitment creates particularly powerful anti-procrastination system. The post-it planning technique makes implementation intentions physically present and impossible to ignore. Write your most important implementation intention on physical post-it note and place it where you cannot avoid seeing it at the planned trigger time. Seeing specific plan at exact trigger moment eliminates the forgetting and renegotiation that undermines vague intentions. The learning and iteration practice improves implementation intention quality over time. After each week, review which intentions were followed and which were not. Identify why specific intentions failed and create more effective versions. Intentions fail typically because trigger is unreliable, time is not protected, action is not specific enough, or obstacle responses are not planned. Each iteration improves your implementation intention quality. The self-efficacy building reveals that successfully following implementation intentions builds belief in your capacity to follow through. Each completed intention strengthens identity as person who does what they plan, creating positive spiral where success enables more success, making implementation intentions increasingly automatic over time. The implementation requires creating specific if-then plans for all important tasks during weekly planning, specifying exact time, place, and first action, planning obstacle responses for predictable difficulties, creating temptation if-then plans, using commitment devices amplifying intentions, placing physical reminders at trigger points, reviewing and iterating weekly, and treating implementation intentions as doubling follow-through where vague intentions enabled endless avoidance because ambiguity always provides escape route from difficult necessary work. Vague intentions enable avoidance. Specific plans create action. Plan exactly or procrastinate indefinitely. You understand now that specificity doubles completion, that if-then creates automatic response, that obstacles need planned responses, that weekly planning systematizes intentions, and that Chapter 3 provides planning system making follow-through automatic where vagueness made avoidance inevitable. Chapter 4. Habit 4. Design your anti-procrastination environment. Chapter 4 designs environment, making procrastination difficult and productive action easy. The environment power shows that physical and digital environment shapes behavior more powerfully and continuously than willpower or motivation. That procrastination enabling environment guarantees constant struggle regardless of intention. That procrastination resistant environment makes starting easy and continuing natural. That design is exponentially higher leverage than motivation. And understanding that environmental design is most powerful anti-procrastination strategy available because environment works continuously while motivation fluctuates. Environment shapes behavior more than willpower. Design for action. Create enabling environment or fight surroundings. The temptation removal involves systematically eliminating procrastination triggers from your work environment. Phone in completely different room eliminates most powerful digital distraction. Website blockers prevent automatic opening of social media during work. Clear visual desk eliminates visual distraction. Removal of non-work items from work area reduces task switching temptation. Treating comprehensive temptation removal as primary environmental design principle because you cannot resist what isn't present. The action facilitation means making important work maximally accessible and immediate. Keep current project open on computer, so returning to work requires zero setup. Have all materials for important tasks prepared and visible before work session begins. Reduce setup friction to absolute minimum, so starting requires essentially no activation energy. Create an environment where productive action is easier than any available alternative. Understanding that accessibility determines initiation frequency more than motivation or intention. The visual cues creation leverages environmental design to prompt action automatically. Place task materials physically visible, creating unavoidable prompts. Keep project notes or task list visible on desk, creating constant awareness. Place visual reminders of your goals and commitments where unavoidable. Design environment to constantly and gently prompt action without requiring internal motivation. Strategic visibility increases task initiation dramatically without requiring any additional willpower. The friction engineering for procrastination involves deliberately adding obstacles to procrastination behaviors. Make social media harder to access by logging out after each use, requiring re-authentication. Place phone in physically inconvenient location, requiring deliberate retrieval. Use website blockers requiring effort to disable. Delete entertainment apps from work devices. Each additional step between you and procrastination behavior reduces automatic avoidance dramatically. The dedicated workspace conditioning creates powerful environmental anchor for productive state. Choose specific location used exclusively for focused work and never for entertainment or relaxation. Over time, this location develops strong association with focused productive state that activates automatically when you sit there. The work location becomes cue triggering work mode the same way bedroom becomes cue triggering sleep mode. Protecting this conditioning by never doing non-work activities in workspace maintains its effectiveness. The digital environment design requires equal attention to physical space. Organize desktop to show only current project files, removing visual noise. Set browser homepage to blank or work-relevant page, preventing automatic social media navigation. Use separate browser profiles for work and personal use, preventing cross-contamination. Create digital environment as intentionally as physical environment, because most procrastination today occurs in digital space. The time-based environmental changes acknowledge that environment needs vary through day. Morning work environment should support deep focused work, minimizing all possible distractions. Afternoon environment can accommodate slightly more interruption for less demanding tasks. Evening environment should support planning and preparation for tomorrow rather than deep work. Matching environmental design to time-based energy and task requirements optimizes throughout day. The environmental audit practice systematically reveals improvement opportunities. Spend 30 minutes identifying every element of your current work environment that enables or encourages procrastination. Physical items competing for attention. Digital access to distracting content. Environmental discomfort creating avoidance. Social interruptions disrupting focus. Each identified element represents specific improvement opportunity that environmental design can address. The progressive improvement approach makes environmental design sustainable. Rather than attempting complete environmental overhaul, simultaneously make one environmental improvement weekly. Each week, identify single highest impact environmental change and implement it. Over months, these weekly improvements accumulate into comprehensively designed environment that makes productive action easy and procrastination difficult. The implementation requires systematically removing procrastination temptations, making important work maximally accessible, creating visual action prompts, engineering friction for procrastination behaviors, establishing dedicated conditioned workspaces, designing digital environment intentionally, adapting environment to time-based needs, conducting regular environmental audits, and treating environment design as making anti-procrastination the path of least resistance where enabling environment made procrastination the default automatic behavior. Environment shapes behavior more than willpower. Design for action. Create enabling environment or fight surroundings. You understand now that environment determines defaults, that removal beats resistance, that accessibility enables starting, that friction prevents automatic avoidance, and that Chapter 4 provides environmental design making productive action easy where poor environment made procrastination inevitable. Chapter 5. Habit 5. Break every task into tiny starts. Chapter 5 breaks tasks into tiny starts, eliminating overwhelm completely. The overwhelm procrastination link shows that feeling overwhelmed is primary procrastination trigger for most people, that large complex tasks feel genuinely impossible, creating automatic avoidance response, that breaking tasks into tiny starts eliminates overwhelming feeling by making each step feel completely manageable, that smallest possible start is infinitely better than no start regardless of how small it seems, and understanding that task size perception determines whether starting feels psychologically possible or impossible. Overwhelm creates avoidance. Break into tiny starts. Start tiny or stay overwhelmed. The tiny start technique involves defining the absolute smallest possible first action for any task you have been avoiding. Not write chapter, but write first sentence. Not complete report, but open document and write heading. Not exercise for hour, but put on workout clothes. Not learn new skill, but watch one 5-minute tutorial. Each tiny start removes the overwhelming activation energy requirement, replacing impossible with trivially easy and doable right now. The granular decomposition process breaks large projects into daily tasks into subtasks, subtasks into micro-actions, continuing until each step feels so small it creates no resistance whatsoever. A quarterly report becomes weekly sections, becomes daily paragraphs, becomes hourly sentences, becomes individual bullet points. A business project becomes phases, becomes milestones, becomes weekly goals, becomes daily tasks, becomes hourly actions. Continuing decomposition until steps feel almost ridiculously small eliminates the overwhelm that triggers avoidance. The next action clarity principle maintains momentum between work sessions. Always define specifically what next physical action is before stopping any work session. Not continue working on presentation, but open slide 4 and add the 3 statistics we discussed. Not work on client proposal, but write the executive summary introduction paragraph. Ambiguity about next action creates re-entry friction that triggers procrastination when returning to work, while clarity makes resuming as easy as following simple instruction. The completion momentum phenomenon reveals why tiny starts create disproportionate results. Each small completion creates psychological readiness for next action. The momentum from completing microtask reduces activation energy required for subsequent tasks, creating progressive ease that builds throughout work session. Tasks that felt impossible at session beginning feel natural and continuable after several small completions because momentum transforms psychological landscape entirely. The 15-minute commitment technique extends tiny start principle to time rather than task size. When facing avoided task, commit to working on it for exactly 15 minutes with absolute permission to stop after 15 minutes if desired. Most people continue beyond 15 minutes because momentum and engagement develop during session, but the commitment to 15 minutes only is completely genuine, making starting feel low risk enough to attempt even during high resistance moments. The project map creation provides visual overview, preventing overwhelm from unknown complexity. Before beginning any significant project, spend 15 minutes creating complete map of all required tasks, components, and steps. Having complete map transforms uncertain journey into known path where each step is visible and manageable. Unknown complexity feels overwhelming, while known complexity feels navigable because you can see the complete picture and identify the next small step. The batch preparation reduces overwhelm by completing all prerequisite steps before actual work begins. Gather all materials needed. Open all required documents. Review relevant notes. Complete all setup tasks. When everything is prepared, beginning actual work requires only starting first meaningful action without any setup friction that could create avoidance opportunity. The overwhelm recognition practice creates real-time awareness, enabling immediate intervention. When you notice overwhelming feeling of rising, pause and immediately ask, what is the single smallest possible next action right now? This question interrupts overwhelm response and redirects attention to immediately manageable action. Consistent practice makes this interruption increasingly automatic, transforming overwhelm from procrastination trigger to action trigger. The completion visualization helps make large projects feel possible. Spend 2 minutes vividly imagining task or project completely finished. See yourself having submitted the report, received the positive feedback, completed the project. Feel the satisfaction and relief of completion. This brief forward visualization creates motivating pull toward completion, counteracting overwhelming feeling created by looking at how much remains. The implementation requires defining tiny starts for every avoided task, decomposing projects granularly until steps feel trivially small, maintaining next action clarity before stopping each session, leveraging completion momentum through consistent small completions, using 15-minute commitment for high-resistance moments, creating project maps for complex work, batch preparing materials, recognizing and interrupting overwhelm with smallest next action question, and treating tiny starts as eliminating overwhelm, where large undifferentiated tasks created paralyzing avoidance, making starting feel genuinely impossible. Overwhelm creates avoidance. Break into tiny starts. Start tiny or stay overwhelmed. You understand now that decomposition eliminates overwhelm, that next action clarity enables resumption, that momentum builds through completions, that 15 minutes beats resistance, and that Chapter 5 provides decomposition system, making any task startable where overwhelming complexity made starting impossible. Chapter 6. Habit 6. Use temptation bundling to make work enjoyable. Chapter 6 uses temptation bundling, transforming procrastinated tasks into genuinely enjoyable activities. The temptation bundling concept shows that pairing procrastinated tasks with genuinely enjoyable activities makes previously avoided work appealing and even anticipated, that combining obligation with genuine reward creates positive emotional association, replacing negative avoidance with positive anticipation. That research demonstrates dramatically increased task completion and consistency when paired with genuine enjoyment, and understanding that making work more enjoyable is completely legitimate, powerful anti-procrastination strategy. Pure obligation creates avoidance. Bundle tasks with enjoyment. Make work appealing or stay avoiding. The bundling examples demonstrate principle across different contexts. Listen to favorite podcast exclusively while exercising, creating powerful motivation to work out to access beloved content. Watch genuinely enjoyable television show only while completing administrative tasks like expense reports or email management. Enjoy special premium coffee exclusively during dreaded work sessions, creating anticipatory pleasure around previously avoided tasks. Use favorite music playlist only during focused work time. Understanding that restricting enjoyment exclusively to paired activity creates powerful motivation to engage with previously avoided work. The restriction principle is an essential component that most people miss when attempting temptation bundling. The bundled enjoyment must be restricted exclusively to the paired productive activity. If you allow yourself to enjoy podcast during pleasant activities as well, the pairing loses its special motivating power. The restriction creates genuine scarcity that makes the combination genuinely anticipated rather than just slightly more pleasant. You don't just tolerate the dreaded task to access the enjoyment, you actually look forward to it. The bundle design process requires identifying your strongest temptations and enjoyments with honest self-assessment. What do you genuinely most enjoy that you currently consume freely without condition? Favorite podcasts, television shows, music, audiobooks, specific foods or beverages, social activities or entertainment. These strongest enjoyments create most powerful bundles. Pairing weak enjoyments with strongly avoided tasks creates insufficient motivation to overcome avoidance. The task matching strategy pairs enjoyment types with appropriate task types for maximum compatibility. Audio content including podcasts, music, and audiobooks pairs well with physical tasks, administrative work, and routine activities that don't require deep cognitive attention. Visual entertainment pairs well with physical tasks, exercise, and manual work. Favorite beverages pair well with desk work requiring sustained attention. Mismatch between enjoyment type and task type creates interference, reducing both productivity and enjoyment. The association formation reveals long-term benefit beyond immediate motivation. With consistent repetition, the paired combination creates genuine positive emotional association with previously avoided tasks. After weeks of enjoying favorite podcast only during exercise, you begin anticipating workout because it means podcast time. The task that formerly triggered avoidance now triggers positive anticipation because brain has learned to associate it with genuine pleasure. This association formation is long-term procrastination solution that gets more powerful with time. The guilt elimination benefit makes temptation bundling uniquely valuable beyond productivity. Many people feel guilty about enjoying entertainment during demanding periods. Temptation bundling completely eliminates guilt by making enjoyment conditional on productive work. You earn and deserve enjoyment because it accompanies completed work. Rather than feeling like you should be working while watching television, you feel good about watching because it is bundled with completion of previously avoided tasks. The progressive bundle development maintains motivation over time. As specific bundles become routine and lose novelty, rotate new enjoyments into bundles, maintaining freshness and motivating power. Save new podcast series specifically for exercise rather than listening immediately. Save enjoyment of special treat specifically for dreaded administrative work session. Maintaining bundle novelty preserves motivating power over extended time periods. The bundle tracking helps identify most effective combinations. Note which bundles create strongest motivation and most consistent follow-through. Some combinations work powerfully while others feel forced or create interference between enjoyment and productivity. Systematically refining bundles based on experience maximizes effectiveness over time, creating personalized system aligned with your specific psychology. The social bundle variation creates shared enjoyment through productive activity. Working alongside friend or colleague on respective individual tasks while enjoying shared enjoyment creates social bundle, combining companionship with productivity. Study groups that combine social connection with learning. Workout partners making exercise social. Or CEO working sessions combining companionship with individual work or represent social temptation bundles. The implementation requires identifying your strongest genuine enjoyments honestly, listing most procrastinated tasks needing motivation boost, creating specific pairings maximizing motivating power, restricting enjoyments exclusively to bundled activities, matching enjoyment types to compatible task types, maintaining consistent pairings for association formation, rotating new enjoyments to maintain novelty, tracking most effective combinations, and treating temptation bundling as transforming procrastinated work from dreaded obligation to anticipated activity where pure obligation created persistent avoidance. Pure obligation creates avoidance. Bundle tasks with enjoyment. Make work appealing or stay avoiding. You understand now that restriction creates motivation, that association forms through repetition, that type matching maximizes effectiveness, that guilt elimination is bonus benefit, and that Chapter 6 provides bundling system making avoided work enjoyable where pure obligation made avoidance inevitable. Chapter 7. Habit 7. Create accountability systems that guarantee follow-through. Chapter 7 creates accountability systems guaranteeing follow-through on commitments. The accountability power shows that external accountability dramatically and consistently increases follow-through beyond what internal commitment alone achieves. That commitment made to others creates stronger psychological obligation than commitment made only to yourself. That accountability reduces procrastination by adding genuine social consequence to delay making avoidance more costly than action, and understanding that accountability systems powerfully compensate for self-control, limitations that every person experiences. Self-accountability fails under pressure. Create external accountability. Commit publicly or procrastinate privately. The accountability partner benefits reveal specific mechanisms making partnership effective. Regular check-ins create commitment cycles where you must report progress regardless of how sessions went, creating consistent accountability pressure. Partners' genuine investment in your success creates reciprocal investment that feels meaningful. Shared commitment creates mutual support where both partners benefit from each other's success. The right partner combines genuine encouragement with honest accountability, rather than only providing comfort when you fall short. The partner selection criteria determines whether accountability relationship actually prevents procrastination or becomes comfortable reporting of failures without consequence. Choose partner who has their own meaningful goals, creating reciprocal investment. Select someone who will provide honest feedback, not just validation and encouragement. Find person with schedule compatible with regular check-ins. Avoid choosing someone who will accept excuses without gentle challenging. Wrong partner creates social connection without accountability, while right partner creates genuine performance pressure that prevents procrastination. The check-in structure maximizes accountability effectiveness through specific design. Daily check-ins work best for habit formation and short-term goal pursuit. Weekly check-ins work well for project completion and longer-term objectives. Each check-in should include specific report of planned versus actual completion, honest identification of obstacles encountered, clear commitment to next period specific actions, and brief problem solving for persistent obstacles. Structured check-ins prevent them from becoming pleasant social conversations without genuine accountability function. The public commitment strategy leverages social psychology for powerful accountability. Announcing specific goals and timelines publicly on social media to professional networks or within relevant communities creates social observation effect that motivates completion. Social observation significantly increases follow-through because potential public failure carries meaningful psychological cost that private failure does not. Strategic public commitment leverages fundamental human motivation to maintain social reputation. The financial accountability represents most powerful form for many personality types. Commitment contracts with real financial stakes dramatically increase follow-through in research studies. Apps like BeMinder allow you to commit money that you forfeit if you miss commitments. Betting with friend where you pay them if you miss goal creates financial consequence, making avoidance genuinely costly. The financial stake transforms procrastination from comfortable option into genuinely expensive choice. The accountability group creates community supporting sustained anti-procrastination effort. Groups of 3 to 5 people with similar goals checking in regularly create accountability with social dimension beyond one-to-one partnership. Group members provide diverse perspectives, celebrate each other's progress, and collectively problem-solve persistent obstacles. Group accountability also creates belonging to community of people taking their goals seriously, which reinforces your own commitment to doing the same. The progress reporting systems create accountability without requiring continuous human availability. Habit tracking apps that send completion notifications to accountability partner create automated accountability. Shared documents updated with daily progress create visible accountability record. Public commitment posts requiring regular updates create audience accountability. These systems maintain accountability pressure without requiring constant direct human interaction. The consequence design maximizes accountability system effectiveness. Consequences must be meaningful enough to actually motivate, yet not so severe. They create anxiety that undermines performance. Mild financial penalties work well for many people. Social commitments that matter emotionally work for relationship-oriented people. Access restrictions to enjoyments work for pleasure-motivated people. Designing consequences aligned with your specific motivational profile creates most effective personal accountability system. The self-compassion within accountability means treating failures within accountability systems as information rather than evidence of fundamental inadequacy. When you miss commitment to accountability partner, respond with honesty about what happened, genuine recommitment to next period, and problem solving about what structural change would prevent recurrence. Self-compassion within accountability prevents shame spiral while maintaining genuine commitment pressure. The implementation requires finding right accountability partner with genuine investment and honest style. Structuring check-ins for real accountability, not just pleasant reporting. Using public commitment strategically for important goals. Considering financial stakes for highest priority commitments. Joining or creating accountability group. Using automated progress reporting systems. Designing personally meaningful consequences. Practicing self-compassion within accountability framework. And treating external accountability as compensating for self-control limitations where solo accountability failed under pressure because internal commitment lacks the social consequences that genuinely motivate consistent follow-through. Self-accountability fails under pressure. Create external accountability. Commit publicly or procrastinate privately. You understand now that external commitment beats internal, that partner selection determines effectiveness, that financial stakes are powerful, that consequence design matters. and that Chapter 7 provides accountability system making follow-through reliable where solo commitment failed predictably. Chapter 8. Habit 8. Manage energy to prevent procrastination. Chapter 8 manages energy, preventing procrastination through strategic scheduling and physical care. The energy procrastination link shows that low energy states dramatically and reliably increase procrastination tendency regardless of intention or commitment, that important work attempted during wrong energy level consistently fails or gets avoided, that matching task difficulty to available energy level prevents energy-based procrastination, which accounts for a significant portion of total procrastination, and understanding that energy management is fundamental anti-procrastination strategy that willpower-based approaches completely ignore. Low energy creates procrastination inevitably. Manage energy strategically. Schedule right or waste peak capacity. The peak energy identification requires honest self-observation over 1 to 2 weeks, tracking your energy level every 2 hours throughout day. Rate energy on simple 1 to 10 scale, noting time and current energy level. After 2 weeks, clear patterns emerge, revealing your personal peak performance windows. Most people have peak energy in late morning, secondary peak in late afternoon, and significant dip after lunch. Your specific pattern may differ, requiring personal observation rather than assuming generic pattern applies. The peak energy protection involves treating your highest energy hours as most precious resource, requiring aggressive protection. Schedule your most cognitively demanding and emotionally difficult tasks, including creative work, strategic thinking, complex problem solving, and dreaded difficult conversations, exclusively during peak energy windows. Protect these hours from meetings, email, and administrative work that can happen at any energy level. Peak hours spent on low-value work represent most expensive productivity loss most people experience daily. The energy depletion recognition skill enables real-time strategic response. Learn to recognize your specific depletion signals, which may include difficulty concentrating, increased distractibility, stronger procrastination impulses, irritability, or physical fatigue. When depletion signals appear, stop fighting them with willpower, which consistently fails, and instead make strategic response. Shift, allow energy work appropriate for current state. Take genuine restorative break, or address physical needs creating depletion. The physical energy management creates sustainable baseline energy, supporting anti-procrastination throughout day. Regular vigorous exercise increases baseline energy level and cognitive performance for 12 to 24 hours, making it most powerful single energy management practice available. Adequate sleep is second most powerful practice, with sleep deprivation dramatically increasing procrastination tendency by reducing executive function and increasing emotional reactivity. Nutritional choices significantly affect energy stability, with high sugar meals creating energy crashes, while protein and complex carbohydrates create sustained stable energy. The strategic break system maintains energy throughout day, preventing the afternoon energy crashes that create procrastination spirals. Rather than working continuously until depletion forces break, take proactive breaks on schedule before depletion occurs. 25 minutes focused work followed by 5-minute genuine rest, as Pomodoro technique suggests, maintains consistent energy far more effectively than working until exhausted. Brief outdoor walks are particularly effective energy restoration breaks, combining light exercise, fresh air, and visual distance from work. The emotional energy dimension reveals that emotional stress and unresolved conflict significantly deplete cognitive energy available for productive work. Ruminating about difficult conversation, worrying about uncertain outcome, or carrying resentment about unfair situation all consume mental bandwidth that would otherwise be available for focused work. Addressing emotional energy drains directly through conversation, journaling, or professional support restores cognitive energy that procrastination habits alone cannot recover. The sleep optimization deserves particular emphasis as most commonly neglected energy factor. Chronic mild sleep deprivation affecting most adults creates persistent cognitive impairment, including reduced working memory, decreased motivation, and dramatically increased procrastination tendency. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is not lifestyle luxury, but productivity fundamental that affects every hour of waking performance. Treating sleep as foundation of anti-procrastination practice rather than optional lifestyle preference creates substantial performance improvements. The caffeine strategic use acknowledges that caffeine can support energy management when used thoughtfully. Caffeine consumed at strategic times can extend peak energy window or bridge energy dip. However, caffeine used to compensate for inadequate sleep creates dependence and disrupts sleep quality, creating downward energy spiral. Strategic caffeine use within context of adequate sleep and good nutrition provides benefit while avoiding dependency cycle. The energy task matching matrix provides practical scheduling framework. High energy periods receive hardest, most avoided, most important work. Medium energy periods receive moderately demanding work, including meetings and collaborative projects. Low energy periods receive routine low-demand work, including email filing and administrative tasks. Implementing this matrix systematically ensures important work receives best energy, eliminating energy-based procrastination for high-priority tasks. The implementation requires identifying personal peak energy through 2-week observation, scheduling most important work during peak hours consistently, recognizing depletion signals and responding strategically, exercising regularly to increase baseline energy, prioritizing adequate sleep as productivity fundamental, taking strategic breaks preventing depletion, addressing emotional energy drains, using caffeine thoughtfully within healthy context, implementing energy task matching matrix, and treating energy management as preventing energy-based procrastination, where wrong time scheduling guaranteed avoidance because depleted brain always chooses easier option over important difficult work. Low energy creates procrastination inevitably. Manage energy strategically. Schedule right or waste peak capacity. You understand now that energy determines performance, that peaks deserve protection, that physical health is productivity foundation, that breaks prevent depletion, and that Chapter 8 provides energy management, making important work possible where depleted scheduling made avoidance inevitable. Chapter 9. Habit 9. Track progress to maintain momentum. Chapter 9 tracks progress maintaining momentum through visible measurement. The progress visibility shows that visible measurable progress creates powerful psychological momentum that reduces procrastination and sustains effort. That momentum makes continuing significantly easier than starting, creating protective effect against procrastination. That tracking makes invisible progress tangible, transforming vague effort into concrete visible achievement. That measurement transforms ambiguous striving into clear progression towards specific outcome, and understanding that progress tracking is powerful anti-procrastination tool that compounds in effectiveness over time. Invisible progress enables discouragement. Track visibly for momentum. Measure progress or lose motivation. The don't break the chain technique reveals profound psychological mechanism, making habit tracking particularly powerful. Marking each day of completed habit on calendar creates visual chain of consecutive completions. Visual chain creates specific psychological commitment to continuation, because breaking chain feels like meaningful loss of accumulated achievement. The longer the chain grows, the stronger its protective effect against procrastination becomes. Each day you maintain chain, the cost of breaking it increases, making continuation easier than stopping. The progress metric selection determines tracking system effectiveness. Choose metrics that genuinely reflect meaningful progress toward your actual goals, rather than easily measured but misleading proxies. Words written rather than hours spent at desk measures writing progress accurately. Calls made rather than time on phone measures sales progress meaningfully. Problems solved rather than hours studying measures learning progress honestly. Meaningful metrics create genuine satisfaction, while misleading metrics create false sense of progress without actual advancement. The momentum psychology explains why tracking creates more than just measurement. Completed tasks and habits create readiness for subsequent tasks through achievement momentum. This momentum reduces activation energy required for next task, making continuation significantly easier than cold starting after break. Procrastination interrupts momentum, requiring full restart energy that feels significantly harder than continuing. Protecting momentum through consistent tracking makes productivity self-sustaining, where loss of momentum makes productivity feel difficult and effortful. The visual progress systems provide specific implementation options for different preferences and contexts. Digital habit tracking apps, including Habiticus Streaks and Productive, make tracking easy and provide visual displays of streak maintenance. Paper tracking systems, including bullet journals, calendar marking, and printed habit trackers, work for people preferring physical tracking. Goal progress charts showing percentage toward completion create visual representation of advancement. Completion calendars marking each productive day create overview of consistency over time. The milestone celebration system maintains motivation through extended projects and habit formation periods. Identify meaningful milestones before beginning any significant project or habit formation effort. Create specific planned celebrations for reaching each milestone that feel genuinely rewarding and proportionate to achievement. Celebrating milestones acknowledges real progress, maintaining motivation through inevitable difficult periods. Without milestone celebrations, extended efforts feel like endless slog where nothing meaningful ever gets acknowledged. The weekly review integration maximizes tracking value through systematic reflection. Spend 15 minutes every week reviewing tracking data, analyzing patterns, and celebrating wins. Weekly review transforms raw tracking data into actionable insight, revealing when and why productivity was high or low, which habits were maintained and which were missed, and what adjustments would improve next week's performance. This regular reflection cycle ensures tracking improves performance rather than just measuring it. The streak recovery protocol prevents single missed day from destroying entire tracking system. Plan specifically how you will respond to inevitably missing a habit or task before missing occurs. Commit to never missing twice in a row as most sustainable recovery rule. Acknowledge the miss without excessive self-criticism. Immediately recommit to tomorrow's completion. Restart chain without shame or extended recovery period. Having planned recovery protocol prevents single miss from becoming abandonment, which is how most tracking systems ultimately fail. The comparison baseline creates motivating context for progress data. Record your starting baseline before beginning tracking so progress is measured against your own beginning point rather than abstract ideal or other people's performance. Comparing current performance to personal baseline reveals genuine personal improvement that comparison to others often obscures. Seeing that you write 3 times more daily words than you did 2 months ago is genuinely motivating regardless of how it compares to anyone else. The implementation requires choosing meaningful progress metrics aligned with actual goals, implementing visual tracking system matched to personal preferences, using don't break the chain psychology for habit formation, protecting momentum through consistent daily completion, celebrating milestones, maintaining motivation through extended efforts, conducting weekly reviews, extracting insight from tracking data, having planned streak recovery protocol, establishing personal baselines for meaningful comparison, and treating progress tracking as maintaining anti-procrastination momentum, where invisible progress allows discouragement and avoidance because humans need visible evidence of advancement to sustain effort through inevitable difficulty. Invisible progress enables discouragement. Track visibly for momentum. Measure progress or lose motivation. You understand now that visibility creates momentum, that chains protect consistency, that metrics must measure genuine progress, that milestones need celebration, and that Chapter 9 provides tracking system making momentum self-sustaining where invisible effort made discouragement and abandonment inevitable. Chapter 10. Habit 10. Build completion rituals that create satisfaction. Chapter 10 builds completion rituals, creating satisfaction that reinforces productive behavior and transforms your relationship with work permanently. The completion ritual importance shows that how you end work sessions and complete tasks profoundly affects how you begin next time. That satisfying completion experiences create positive emotional association with productive work that gradually replaces negative association, driving procrastination. That positive association reduces future procrastination by making starting feel connected to previous satisfaction rather than only anticipated difficulty, and understanding that completion experience shapes starting experience, making ritual design essential final anti-procrastination habit. Poor endings create poor beginnings. Build completion rituals. Finish well or start poorly next time. The ritual elements combine to create powerful psychological closure and positive reinforcement. Brief specific review of what was accomplished during session creates concrete awareness of achievement that vague sense of having worked doesn't provide. Acknowledging specific effort invested and challenges navigated during session creates genuine pride distinct from simply completing easy work. Deliberate transition behavior marking clear end of work session creates psychological boundary between work and rest, enabling genuine recovery. Brief authentic celebration of completion, however small, releases dopamine reinforcing preceding behavior. The satisfaction creation requires shifting focus from what remains to what was accomplished. The human tendency toward negativity bias makes incomplete work psychologically louder than completed work. Deliberately redirecting attention to what you actually finished creates genuine satisfaction that negative bias prevents automatically. List specifically what you accomplished even if less than planned. Acknowledge that any progress is real progress. Find genuine pride in effort invested rather than only in outcomes achieved. The dopamine wiring mechanism explains why completion rituals create lasting change beyond immediate satisfaction. celebration, and genuine positive emotion following behavior release dopamine that neurologically reinforces that behavior, making it more likely to be repeated. Each time you complete work and experience genuine positive emotion, your brain strengthens neural pathways associated with productive behavior, making those pathways increasingly automatic over time. Consistent completion rituals literally rewire your relationship with productive work at neurological level. The work session closing practice involves specific sequence ending every productive session regardless of how much was accomplished. First, spend 2 minutes writing specifically what you completed during session, creating concrete record. Second, identify and write specifically what next action is when you return, ensuring frictionless restart. Third, perform brief physical action marking transition, such as closing laptop, clearing desk, or brief stretching. Fourth, take 1 moment of genuine acknowledgement for effort invested. This four-step closing sequence creates reliable positive ending that begins next session's starting experience. The project completion celebration deserves proportionate meaningful recognition beyond daily session rituals. When you complete significant project or achieve meaningful milestone, create specific planned celebration that genuinely honors the achievement. Tell someone who will understand the significance. Do something you specifically enjoy as direct reward for completion. Write brief reflection on what you learned and how you grew through the project. Proportionate project completion celebrations create powerful positive associations with completing significant work. The long-term association building reveals transformation that consistent completion rituals create over months and years. Currently productive work likely carries significant negative emotional association from years of procrastination, struggles, delays, and rushed completions. Each satisfying completion ritual slightly loosens this negative association while installing slight positive one. Over months of consistent ritual practice, positive associations gradually accumulate, creating qualitatively different relationship with work where starting feels connected to previous satisfaction rather than anticipated suffering. The ritual personalization ensures rituals actually create genuine positive emotion rather than mechanical going through motions. Generic completion rituals that don't resonate with your specific psychology fail to create genuine dopamine release that makes rituals neurologically effective. Experiment with different ritual elements to discover what actually creates genuine positive emotion for you specifically. Some people find verbal acknowledgement most powerful. Others find physical movement most satisfying. Others prefer written reflection most meaningful. Personal discovery creates genuine satisfaction, where generic ritual creates only compliance. The difficult session completion ritual addresses most important case where sessions were challenging, frustrating, or incomplete. These difficult sessions most need genuine completion ritual because they naturally create negative association that compounds procrastination tendency for future similar work. After difficult, frustrating, or incomplete session, specifically acknowledge the difficulty you navigated. Credit yourself for continuing despite challenge. Identify any learning, however small, from the struggle, and commit to specific small improvement for next session. Difficult session ritual transforms potentially discouraging experience into growth acknowledgement. The implementation requires designing personal completion ritual, including specific review, acknowledgement, transition, and celebration elements, practicing consistently after every work session without exception, creating proportionate project completion celebrations, building satisfying positive associations through consistent repetition, personalizing ritual elements to create genuine positive emotion, applying special difficult session ritual after challenging work, tracking whether ritual creates genuine satisfaction over time, and treating completion ritual as transforming long-term relationship with productive work. Poor endings created negative associations that made starting feel connected to previous suffering rather than previous satisfaction. You have learned 10 anti-procrastination habits that transform your productivity. Habit 1. Understanding procrastination psychology. Habit 2. Using 2-minute rule for immediate action. Habit 3. Creating implementation intentions. Habit 4. Designing anti-procrastination environment. Habit 5. Breaking tasks into tiny starts. Habit 6. Using temptation bundling. Habit 7. Creating accountability systems. Habit 8. Managing energy strategically. Habit 9. Tracking progress for momentum. Habit 10. Building completion rituals. What matters now is implementing one habit today. 5 immediate priorities. Apply 2-minute rule to one task right now. Create one implementation intention for tomorrow's most important task. Remove one procrastination trigger from your environment. Find one accountability partner this week. Track completion of one task with visible system today. Start immediately. Build consistently. Transform permanently. Stop watching potential disappear to procrastination and start transforming productivity through 10 systematic habits. Understand your psychology. Start immediately with 2-minute rule. Plan specifically with implementation intentions. Design enabling environment. Break into tiny starts. Bundle with enjoyment. Create accountability. Manage energy. Track progress visibly. Finish with satisfying ritual. And transform your productivity permanently through unwavering commitment starting right now today.